Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel today. We are going to discuss a shocking development that has sent ripples across the Middle East and beyond. An Israeli airstrike in Qatar has reportedly killed top Hamas leader Khalil al-Hayya. This incident is not just about a single strike. It represents a massive escalation in the geopolitical conflict between Israel, Hamas, and now even Qatar. As tensions rise, the world is watching closely to see what unfolds next. The news of this airstrike has immediately triggered outrage across the Arab world. Khalil al-Hayya was considered one of the most influential figures in Hamas, with deep ties to the group's leadership and close coordination with both Gaza-based operations and external political arms. His death in Qatar, a nation that has historically provided diplomatic and humanitarian support to Gaza, is being seen as a direct message from Israel to both Hamas and its supporters. This move has stunned analysts because Qatar has long tried to position itself as a mediator between conflicting parties in the region, but now it finds itself at the center of the storm. For Israel, this strike signals a bold shift in strategy. Traditionally, Israeli operations against Hamas leaders have focused on Gaza, Lebanon, or Syria. Carrying out a strike in Qatar, however, is a dramatic expansion of its reach and sends a chilling message that no Hamas leader is safe regardless of where they are located. This is also a sign that Israel is willing to challenge nations that openly or discreetly provide shelter and support to Hamas, which could create diplomatic fractures with countries across the Gulf. The assassination of Khalil al-Hayya raises critical questions about the intelligence and coordination behind the operation. How was Israel able to track his exact location in Qatar? Was there inside assistance from regional actors or Western intelligence services? If Israel acted unilaterally, this demonstrates extraordinary surveillance capabilities and the willingness to breach the sovereignty of another nation. If it acted with covert assistance from allies, then the political consequences could spread far beyond the Middle East. Qatar now faces an unprecedented challenge. Its role as host of Hamas's political bureau has always been controversial but tolerated by many regional and international players, because Qatar also played the part of negotiator in ceasefire talks and humanitarian aid distribution. However, by allowing senior Hamas leaders to reside in its territory, Qatar effectively became a target. The airstrike has put its leadership in a difficult position because Doha must respond strongly to defend its sovereignty, while also managing its delicate relationships with the United States' regional neighbors, and even Israel indirectly. Reactions from Arab states have already begun to emerge. Some are condemning Israel's actions as a violation of Qatar's sovereignty, while others are quietly observing the situation given their own shifting alliances in the region. For instance, Saudi Arabia and the UAE have been recalibrating their positions on both Israel and Hamas, and may view this moment as an opportunity to influence Qatar's policies. At the same time, Iran, which has long supported Hamas, is expected to increase pressure on Israel and rally its allies to retaliate. The wider implications could lead to proxy escalations in multiple theaters across the Middle East. From Israel's perspective, the killing of Khalil al-Hayya will be celebrated as a significant victory. Hamas leaders play crucial roles in coordination, financing, and strategy. By removing one of the top figures, Israel believes it has weakened the group's leadership structure and sent a message of deterrence. The government in Tel Aviv will likely frame this strike as a defensive measure, arguing that Hamas's continued threats require preemptive action. Still, the risk of backlash is enormous because Hamas is known to retaliate forcefully against such targeted assassinations. Within Gaza, Hamas officials have already declared their intentions to avenge the death of Khalil al-Hayya, and this could translate into a surge in rocket-fire drone attacks, or even coordinated cross-border operations. The timing of the strike is also critical, since the region has been experiencing heightened instability in recent weeks. If Hamas escalates in response, Israel will respond even more aggressively, potentially dragging the entire region into another cycle of violence. The international community is now struggling to find a balance on how to react. Western nations may quietly support Israel's justification for targeting Hamas leaders, but publicly, they cannot ignore the violation of Qatari sovereignty. The United Nations is expected to hold emergency sessions, and countries like Turkey and Iran will demand accountability. This puts the U.S. in an especially delicate position as Washington relies heavily on Qatar for its military presence in the region. While also being a key ally of Israel, Qatar's leadership will now be forced to decide whether to double down on its support for Hamas or to scale back its ties in an effort to reduce future risks. For years, Doha has defended its policy of allowing Hamas's political leadership to operate from its capital as part of its humanitarian and mediation strategy. Now, with this strike, that policy has been exposed as a major vulnerability. The Qatari public is also likely to demand stronger measures against Israel, creating domestic pressure on the government. As the dust settles, this incident could mark the beginning of a new chapter in Middle Eastern conflicts. Instead of Hamas's leadership being confined to Gaza and targeted there, Israel has now demonstrated that no location is off limits. This precedent could shift the strategies of militant groups who may feel less secure in countries that once seemed like safe havens. It also raises the likelihood of retaliatory strikes against Israeli interests abroad, turning the conflict into a broader international confrontation. At the same time, one must also consider the internal dynamics within Hamas. Khalil al-Hayyah's death creates a power vacuum that will need to be filled quickly. Leadership changes within such organizations often trigger internal rivalries or shifts in strategy. Some factions may push for immediate retaliation, while others may advocate for regrouping and strengthening defenses before acting. This internal debate will play out under intense pressure as Israel continues to monitor the group's movements closely. Beyond the immediate conflict, there is also the economic and energy dimension. To consider, Qatar is one of the world's leading exporters of natural gas and plays a crucial role in global energy markets. If its stability is threatened by escalating tensions or retaliatory actions, the ripple effects could impact international energy prices. This is another reason why global powers are deeply concerned about the fallout of the Israeli strike and are pushing for rapid de-escalation. The strike on Khalil al-Hayyah also undermines ongoing peace and mediation efforts over the past months. Multiple international actors, including Egypt, Turkey, and the United Nations, have been working to negotiate ceasefires and reduce hostilities between Israel and Hamas. By targeting a senior leader in a third country, Israel has essentially upended these delicate negotiations and thrown regional diplomacy into chaos. It will take significant effort to rebuild any form of trust or dialogue after such a direct confrontation. While Israel may claim tactical success in eliminating a key Hamas figure, the strategic consequences could prove more complicated. By striking in Qatar, Israel risks alienating potential allies and fueling further anger in the Muslim world. The perception of Israel's reach and aggression will embolden its adversaries to adopt even more drastic measures, which could prolong the cycle of violence rather than end it. As we continue to monitor this developing story, one thing is certain: the Middle East is entering yet another turbulent phase. The death of Khalil al-Hayyah in Qatar will not only reshape Hamas's leadership structure, but also test Qatar's political resilience. Israel's decision to carry out this strike will reverberate in regional diplomacy for years to come. The region's fragile balance may tip further into instability as nations choose sides and prepare for the next stage of confrontation. This is a story that continues to unfold hour by hour, and it will shape the future of the conflict between Israel and Hamas, as well as the role of regional powers like Qatar in hosting or supporting such groups. The coming days will be critical in determining whether this incident escalates into a wider regional war or whether international diplomacy can contain the fallout and prevent an even greater catastrophe.